Okay. So can you guys see that? Okay. So
Yes.
why print? Where does print fit in today's modern world? I mean, let me go to the next slide. So does anyone else feel like they're drowning in emails the last few weeks or month? I mean, it's been crazy. And that's just recently. Now, this slide was put together several months ago. And when you look at these stats, I mean, email marketing several months ago, before this whole pandemic, was at an all-time high, and it's only growing each day. The average person gets about 120 to 150 emails a day, and that's talking about office workers. So that's really not taking into account your personal emails, which don't even get me started there. That's been like just crazy. The average click-through rate, 3.1%, and the average lifespan, 2 seconds. So, I mean, really, we have to think about that. I'm not saying that email's not important, because granted, I mean, it's a very important part of what Neenah does. It's part of our marketing plan. It's something that we think about all the time, but it's just one small part of what we're doing. I love these stats right below that talk about brand recall and what people are actually remembering, like what's sticking with them. So when they see something digital, it's really not sticking with them. Now, I know it changes when it's a familiar company, and you know, it's not that they're not going to remember that. But when you're talking about a startup or a new company and you're relying on digital media, you're going to have a really tough time like penetrating that potential customer and getting into their brain, into their mind share. When you send direct mail, the study shows that 75% of people can actually recall what they've seen. One of the reasons when we think about that is just thinking about the different senses that you're activating. And there was another study about the fact that a brand can increase their advertising effectiveness by almost 70% if they appeal to more than 3 senses. So you think about not just the visual, but you're thinking about the emotional sense, you know, how it makes someone feel, the sense of touch, and how, you know, when someone sees something really cool or interesting, they want to reach out and touch it and react to it and have a feeling about it. So you think about all of the direct mail that comes through your box and how you make these instant, you know, perceptions on what you're receiving based on the paper that it's printed on. So these are things to think about when you're talking to a client. I mean, obviously budgets keep shrinking. And so it's really easy to say, where can we cut? If we can just do this electronically, do we really need to print? And I think the answer is yes. I mean, you know, it always depends on the client, but there's a lot of things that we need to consider. I love this study that was done by the United States Post Office about the excitement around mail, about, you know, getting stuff in the mail. So I don't know, does anyone get, and you don't have to answer, but you can, but does anyone get the email that you get every day, that tells you what you're getting in your mail? It's called the, I can't remember what it's called.
Informed delivery.
Yeah, informed delivery email. So if you get that, like that's one email I actually open because I'm actually excited to see what's coming in the mail to me, even though most days it's kind of a disappointment because there's nothing fun. But the bottom line is people look forward to getting something in the mail. And there's a few things around mail that you want to think about. Direct mail is definitely perceived as more trusted, and it's more personal. So if you get something from a company where they're actually printing it and sending it to you, you trust that that's a real company, as opposed to email where there's this fear of clicking. Especially now, people are just afraid to like click any further, and gee, if I request this, then what list am I going to get on? It's kind of this like murky area that people don't trust. When you think about your mailbox, there's less direct mail these days. I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting less and less of it. So less competition, right? There's not 150 pieces of mail in my box. And the other thing I love is that direct mail allows me to read it when I'm ready. How many times have you been like sitting at a stoplight scrolling through your email and you kind of see something, you're like, oh yeah, I should look at that later. I shouldn't be looking at it now because I'm driving. Or, you know, you're on a conference call and an email comes and you think, oh yeah, I have to get to that. I mean, there are times where I'm about to fall asleep in bed and like, I sit up and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I forgot to answer that email, or I forgot to look back at that. Whereas direct mail allows me to put it aside. Now, everyone probably, I don't know if you're like me, but I have a pile where things go that I want to look at again. And so that's giving that, whoever sent it to me, that other touch point. Here's another thing to consider. Direct mail drives engagement. And there was a study done about how people make decisions. And it all came down to that the major decisions they're making about brands and about what they're spending are made at home. I mean, not a big surprise, but it's something to think about. You're going to talk to your spouse, you're going to talk to your significant other or your family about any big purchases and things that you want to do differently, whether it's vacation or buy a car or, you know, buy a house. And so the direct mail is actually influencing decisions, and it gives them that trusted piece from the brand, that trusted sense that, you know, from that brand that's trying to reach them. So we understand, okay, direct mail, yes, it's important, but how important is the paper? And a lot of times we hear that, you know, well, we just didn't have the budget and the paper gets cut, but you have to think about the paper in terms of that emotional connection that we talked about, engaging those senses and how that is truly making something hit Michelle's pile, right? It's going to keep me from throwing it in the trash if it's higher quality or if it's an interesting texture or I feel like someone spent more money. It's part of that perception that you're creating with the printed piece. It's so important. Just like the typefaces you choose, the PMS colors you choose, the photos you choose, all of those work together along with the paper to create that brand and create that impression. So I have to say, it just like hurts my heart when I talk to designers and they tell me like, oh, I love Neenah paper. We love it so much. We tried to use it, but we just couldn't, you know, we didn't have it in the budget. And I'm like, really? Wow. So how big was the job? And, you know, most times people are, the runs that they're doing most often are like, you know, 2,000, 5,000. They're not these huge 100,000 run jobs. You don't see a lot of those anymore. And so I always have to question, well, what do you mean you didn't have the budget? Like, what budget are you talking about? Like, are you talking about just the print section? Because I think what happens is you get a quote from a printer, and when they come back and they'll say, oh, you know, I know you asked for this, but we can substitute this and save you money. The paper becomes a much bigger percentage at that point because you're only looking at paper and printing. When you look at that total budget, and you really step back and you think, what am I trying to do here? Your client hired you to do something, and it's not just send, you know, create a piece. They're hiring you to build their brand. They're hiring you to sell more product. They're hiring you to get people to sign up for something or to engage with them somehow, to respond to whatever it is you're designing. So that's the goal. And you can't ever lose sight of that goal. So when you think about the deliverable, when we're talking about print projects, what's more important than the paper? I mean, that's, to me, it can be the most important part of a project. It's what's going to get attention. It's going to give it longevity. It's going to make it stick around. It's going to build the perception that you're a premium company. So why would you say that, oh, we're going to print it, but we're just going to print it on this ordinary paper to save a slight little bit? You know, it always pays to think about that big picture. And the thing I like the most is the statement right here: the most expensive piece that anyone ever prints is the one that doesn't get opened, right? It's the one that ends up being thrown into the garbage because it's just not perceived as anything I want to read. So think about that when you're opening your mail and you know, or not opening it because it's perceived as junk mail. It's really, you have to really think about that total picture. I can't stress that enough. And I think there's a lot of people who agree with me on that. And when you think about why it's important and what makes a print piece successful, you know, it strikes a chord with someone. So it gets their attention for whatever reason. An example I think of is like my husband, who is not a designer at all. He has not a creative bone in his body. And he is an Apple freak. He loves Apple products. He just loves the packaging. He thinks the boxes are so cool. Whenever he gets something Apple related, which is everything they make, he finds some excuse that he has to have it. He literally waits and sets up time for his unboxing moment, which, I mean, again, not a creative guy, but that to him is so important. He loves, you know, just the whole appeal of that. It strikes a chord with him. And you think about your target audience and who are you appealing to? If you think of you're appealing to a younger audience who's really interested in environmental issues, think about the paper. Use a craft colored paper. Use something that's going to speak to them and strike a chord and get them to respond and open the envelope. So many times you get these postcards in the mail, like I have the images here of two different things. They're both for grand openings, you know, so the one on the left, I mean, if that's a new company, I don't know, what kind of image is that setting up? Like, do I really want to go there? That just seems so me too. It seems like a place I've already been. It doesn't seem like anything new and exciting. But when I look at the one on the right, this grand opening invitation, okay, it feels like an invitation. It's in an envelope. It's got a die cut. Now, most people don't even know what a die cut is, the recipient, but they know it's different. It's cool. It's on a textured paper. It's embossed. It's really setting up the expectation of what this store is all about and what I'm going to experience when I go there. And it's something I want to hang on to. Like, I view this as an invitation. I'm going to pin it up. I'm going to make sure I go there because I want to check out this new retail experience. So it really, really, truly is something to be thinking about. So when you're sending direct mail and or doing any print, it doesn't have to be direct mail. I know we're talking a lot about that, but think about using color and texture to engage. Okay, so often, again, back to that, I tried to use the good paper. I hear designers tell me like they did this beautiful invitation and they ended up putting it in this white wove envelope, like yuck, you know? It's like, why would you skimp on the envelope? That's the part that you want people to get excited about when they get it. You're setting the tone. You're really getting them excited about what's inside and what this event is going to be all about. And I think there's an opportunity. It doesn't have to be a wedding. It could be any type of invitation. But using a beautiful envelope just elevates your event. It makes it feel more important. It makes it feel like this is something I can't miss. Someone is seeking me out. I'm invited because this feels like they spent more money. I'm going to hang on to this. There's so many things that go along with that. So moving on from direct mail, when you think about other uses of paper, packaging is another thing that a lot of designers do. I mean, maybe not on a regular basis, but every so often you have to create some sort of package. And I love this stat. 80% of brand owners agree that packaging influences brand value. Okay, it makes their brand look more valuable. What does that really mean? They can charge more. So think about cosmetics. Going to a department store, a high-end, like a Sephora, not that that's high-end, but, you know, a place where they really specialize in cosmetics, and compared to like going to Walgreens and looking at, you know, the different types of packaging and look at the different price points. There's been countless studies done that the eye cream that you spend $20 on is really not that different than the eye cream that you spend $120 on. But there are people who will buy that product because the packaging is so elegant and so beautiful, and it strikes a chord, and it feels like, wow, I need to have this eye cream. It's going to make me look younger and perform miracles, and I'll give you my $120. And then 41% of those people who buy that will continue to purchase. They become lifelong customers. So investing in that packaging up front is so important. I love this little picture of the taffy, saltwater taffy. You think about a lot of times when you buy it, you're on vacation and you want to get some saltwater taffy. Maybe you want to bring some gifts home to your house sitter or pet sitter. You can buy saltwater taffy and throw it into a cellophane bag, right? But when you see this kind of box, I think that taffy is going to taste better. And I don't care that it's $3 more. You know, I'm going to buy that box because it's a gift. I'm going to then give it to, like I said, you know, your pet sitter, whoever. I'm going to give it to someone as a gift. The other thing I love about really beautiful packaging is, you know, as a gift, is you get it as a gift and you remember how you felt when someone gave it to you, and you're like, oh my God, this is so awesome. Like, I don't even want to eat this chocolate because the box is so beautiful. I don't want to open it. But you remember that, and then you repeat that. So the next time you're going to a dinner party and you need to pick up a box of chocolates, you will seek out that beautiful box that someone bought you because you know how it made you feel. So that's another thing to think about. And then I wanted to show this slide too, about the fact that paper alone can communicate a lot. So when you look at these two muffin mixes, and these are two actual muffin mixes that exist, you can buy either of these in the stores. I think Miffy's is sold at Whole Foods, but Miffy's uses our Neenah folding board in craft. And I think when you look at that box, you make assumptions. You automatically assume that, oh, this is organic and this is healthy and this doesn't have preservatives. And all of these things come to mind based on the packaging, right? Just based on the paper choice. You're going to assume there's something wholesome and healthy and organic because they're using craft, as opposed to like the Jiffy or the Betty Crocker, you know, standard packaging. So granted, the Miffy's does cost more, but I feel better because I feel like this is better. It's something I'm going to put into my body, so I need to eat healthier, and I don't mind that it's a couple dollars more. So really, really powerful. So like I said, I wanted to start with some of those slides, which I think it's really important to get us into the mindset and thinking about how important paper is, how important print is, especially now. And the other thing to think about is, at what point do you think about paper? So oftentimes as designers, you're working on a computer screen. I mean, oftentimes you are working on a computer screen all the time. You're working on this white screen and you're not thinking about your substrate. And so Neenah has launched what's called Neenah Swatch Pro. That is a download from the Adobe Cloud. It's free and it populates into Illustrator and Photoshop. So if anyone has tried this in the past, we just added Photoshop this week. So you can then select Neenah paper and have it drop into your artboard in either of these programs. And so you're working with not only the color, but the texture as well. So I encourage you guys to check that out. We have a PDF we can forward you. It's on the website, and at the very end of this, we're going to show you a quick video. But if you go to neenahpaper.com/swatchpro, it'll take you right to it and direct you to where to find that at Adobe. Another thing I wanted to mention is on our website at neenahpaper.com, there's a section called resources, or you can get to it directly from neenahpaper.com/guidelines. And this is a wonderful place to start when you're designing and you're just, you know, the conceptual stage of a project. A lot of times we default into like 8.5 by 11 or 9 by 12 pocket folder. And what this does is it gives you a place to start thinking differently, literally outside the box, you know, thinking about different formats that you might introduce to a client. And these die lines are downloadable, so you can start working right away. They're scalable, so you don't have to do that like thinking about folding and how is this all going to work. You can just go to town, you know, which is what it's great for. I think it's really fun to just get some ideas for different formats as well. So I want to encourage you guys to check that out. And I wanted to also show this, like I mentioned a lot of these stats throughout those slides I just showed you. But Neenah has been doing this for quite a few years, where we've been following a lot of different studies about print and paper and direct mail, because we know that these kind of stats help you when you're working with clients. So I know that's sometimes the hardest sell is, you know, why are we doing print? We're trying to cut our budget. And for you to have these stats really helps you kind of sell your concepts. And so we'll continue to include stats like this in our promotions. And if you have older Neenah promotions, go look through them. A lot of times people tell me they don't even realize, or they forget. The first time they look through them, they didn't notice. So we always have these available. You can always reach out to your Millcraft rep who can come back to us, or they might even have them. And we do have this stat sheet electronic that we can forward. So I have this little personal story I want to tell you guys. So look at the top one, this tangible materials leave a deeper footprint in the brain. And I'm going to stop sharing because I want to show you guys. So hopefully you guys can see. So the other day, this envelope came in the mail and I was all excited, like, oh, that's cool. And I realized it was kind of a thick envelope, and it was from my mom, and it went to my daughter. I have a daughter who's about to turn 17. And my mom makes homemade cards. She's a very crafty, you know, creative person. So like, here's an example of one of my mom's cards. So she got a cricket, and she does all this fun stuff. So I'm assuming that my daughter's going to pull this card out, and I'm like, so what did grandma send you? And she pulls this piece out. And I was like, I can't even explain to you the feeling that happened in my brain when I saw this. I was like, wait a minute. I know that. Hold on. I made that. Like all of these emotions and sensations came back to me about this piece. I had seen this 45 years ago. Okay, so this is my, I'm telling you this because tangible materials leave a footprint in the brain. The way I reacted when I saw this was so weird. I could remember this pink ribbon. I remembered the construction paper, this beautiful image of the lamb and the lion, but I have to show you guys. This is my American history cookbook written by me in 1975. Okay, I'm old. But one other thing I have to brag about is my handwriting. So look at that cursive handwriting. Can you guys see that? That's pretty good, don't you?
That's a lost art. Good for you.
Okay, so my only critique would be, what the heck with this cover image and the American history cookbook? You think this girl's gonna be a graphic designer? I don't know. So anyway, that whole tangible thing, like I've seen that before. It was so crazy that something that I created 45 years ago came back into my life. So anyway, I also wanted to go back to this idea of the envelope and, you know, that excitement you get when you get mail. Okay, so that was kind of fun and exciting when we got that in the mail. But I mentioned that went to my daughter. She's a junior in high school. And so we're at that stage where we're starting to get all the college mailings, and maybe some of you out there can relate, and a lot of you have been through it. But I've been dying for this day because I've been calling on universities for a long, long time, and I'm aware of the trials and tribulations and the budgets and, you know, or lack thereof that you guys all have. And I was just like, oh, I can't wait to see what kind of stuff we get in the mail. So here was the shocker to me, like the first round of mail from colleges. White wove number 10, white wove window number 10, white wove window number 10, white wove window number 10. I mean, seriously, like, is this a prerequisite? Does every college have to do this? What? The most expensive piece is the one that doesn't get opened. And if this is my initial impression of the college, they're not opened. These are the letters they send that get you to sign up and say, hey, send me more. And then they think they're going to send you the big expensive view book and the cool stuff. I'm curious how many people are actually sending, you know, getting reaction. And I think, okay, well, maybe because everyone's doing it, they feel like this is what we should do because this is what all the other schools do. And there's something to be said about being a designer and being able to think differently. Clients who don't think creative, aren't right brain people, they just don't have that creative vision, have a hard time visualizing things that they haven't seen before. Whereas designers have this ability to visualize. It's kind of a form of eidetic thinking, almost like photographic, where you can visualize something in your brain and then bring it to life. Your client doesn't have that ability. And so they only know what they've seen. And a lot of times they feel like, well, if they have an 8.5 by 11 glossy brochure, then I need one too. And so it's your job to sort of show them different formats and how do we break through the noise. And fine, if it's cheaper to do a number 10 window envelope, change the paper of the envelope. Make it, use like Desert Storm to show that you're a school that appeals to the millennial mindset or the Gen X, what are they, I can't remember, Gen Z mindset. You know, you're trying to get their attention with something other than looking like everyone else. So I did want to show a couple pieces that Neenah has done. We did a university focused piece, higher education focused piece a while ago. And this was one of the pieces that was in there, and it was in one of my slides. But I just think this is so cool. And granted, everyone doesn't have the budget to do something like this, but the concept of using the color and a texture, like maybe it's the school color. This is a one color print job. It's silver ink on red paper. It could be, this could be a number 10 size, or maybe it fits into an A7 envelope, but is it really going to be that much more expensive? Is it, I don't know, to send than this? Make it so that the postage is the same, but change the format, change the color. get me to open it. Speak to my daughter who's a junior and doesn't know what her major is going to be. That's going to get us to respond and say, cool, tell me more, send me more about your school. I can't wait to see it, and maybe even come visit because this is looking pretty cool. And then, you know, like I said, appealing to that generation, striking a chord with your audience. So using the craft colored papers to say that, hey, we care about the environment. We're using recycled paper. You know, just some nice ideas on just making subtle changes in paper that can really elicit a much higher response. Another thing that was in our kit was this fun invitation to homecoming. So when you think about reaching out to alumni, and this is an example for education, but I just love the three-dimensional aspect of a piece like this. So this can come in an envelope, you know, like a, I don't know, an A8 or whatever. You can fit this flat into an envelope. But what this does is it guarantees fun and interaction. There is no one on earth who's going to receive this and not put it together. And when they put it together, they have this cute little, you know, megaphone. And if you are an alumni and this came from your school, this is going to probably sit on your desk for a while and have a lifespan of a lot longer than that postcard that you would throw in the mail. So a lot to be said for just upping it a little bit, spending a little bit more money, because people are going to respond and hang on to that piece so much longer. And then when we think about the envelope, you know, how important that is. Again, people have told me that they've done invitations and said, gosh, we did this beautiful invitation, but we had to cut our budget and we put it in a white envelope. I'm like, really? Like, it's not that much more expensive to do a colored envelope and really get someone excited about opening the mail. I love this one. I don't know if you can see, you probably can't see this, but it's Tech Weave. It's Epic Black Tech Weave. Oh my God, this is beautiful. And there's, I mean, if I got this in the mail, I would be careful with like ripping it. Like, it's that special, and it's just really making you feel good about that brand. So on the subject of envelopes, I wanted to get to a piece that we can share with you guys. We can send this out. As you know, the Pantone color of the year is classic blue, and Neenah was really excited about that, given the number of blues that we have. And you might not realize how many blues we have unless you have all of our swatch books opened up in front of you. So we put together this sheet showing all of our blues, and just the range from light blue to pearlized blues to deep dark blues. So just a quick cheat sheet that will get you to the right swatch book, or you can order samples from Millcraft and just get these pieces in your hand. And yes, you can get this sheet. Along with this sheet, we have this beautiful envelope kit. So this is called our hashtag Neenah Blue. As people are getting these, we're asking them to put them on social media and hashtag Neenah Blue. Again, going along with that Pantone color of the year. And inside, you actually get to touch and feel some of those beautiful blue papers. So we have different size envelopes here showcasing pearlized, astrobright, classic cobalt, just a wide variety of shades of blue. And then also a quick promo on our envelope program. It's so simple to get the envelope that you want that's going to stand out in the mail. It's a 1, 2, 3 program. 1, pick your Neenah brand and color. 2, does it come in a writing or a text weight? If it does, then yes, you can get 1 box of envelopes. 1 box, 250 envelopes. And don't worry about, is it stocked? Think about our envelopes as converted on demand. It's there's no additional cost to get 1 box versus, you know, like 50 boxes. It's a very small broken carton fee. It's nothing to even worry about, but definitely make sure that you're using the envelope that's going to get the attention that the piece deserves. So I want to talk a little bit about the other slide I showed about die lines. And I saw a couple questions pop up about what's available. And again, I want to encourage you guys to go and check out our die lines. But where we got started with that was we do this series that's called Explore. And so some of these are older pieces that may look familiar, that maybe you guys have received in the past. And this is one that Millcraft actually used this die line. So let me back up here. Explore is a series that showcases digital jobs. So it's showcasing our digital papers and really letting people know that they can use all different types of, colors and textures in digital printing. So for those shorter runs, Neenah has a very broad offering of color and texture for digital printing. And so we loaded all of the die lines from all of our Explore pieces onto our website. So that's where you're going to go to get that inspiration for format, new format, thinking differently, showing your clients something, thinking again outside the box, right? So even the actual folders themselves, we have the die lines for these folders. And so maybe some of you guys have this piece from Millcraft, the Discover Digital piece on Tech Weave, which is so beautiful, but they used the die line. So they were able to just, pick that up off our website and use the exact die line. Why reinvent the wheel? It works. It was perfect for this piece. So that was a great find on their part. Really smart to think that way. So I want to show you some of my favorite pieces from Explore where you can find these die lines. So this, I think, is my all-time favorite. As you know, I like these three-dimensional pieces. So this is something that would come flat in an envelope. And again, totally get someone to put it together. All the messaging is on the different panels. It's even printed on the inside, but there's a lot of real estate here for you to print branding information, invitation information. But what this becomes is like, it's almost like a little business card, that's gonna live on the person's desk and have a much longer lifespan than that postcard or business card that you would send them. So an example of how I used this later, because I loved it so much, we did a little mailing and used the little pyramid design, and it was all about, specking Neenah and where do I go, call me, I'm your paper resource. And so it was kind of like a little business card. But to send that out as a mailing was really fun and got a great reaction. And then we saw this on people's desks for like literally a year later. So think about that, those types of things when you're considering different formats. Another thing when you're printing digitally and you're able to possibly mix in different papers. This is an idea, and there's a die line very similar to this on the website, but I love the idea of using several different colors and textures of paper in one book. And just the way this is, it's just saddle stitched, but the way, there's no way that you're not gonna kind of flip through this and look at every page because it's giving you a sneak peek. So again, getting you to think about format in a different way. As I was saying, with digital paper, the carton pack is much smaller. So you can mix signatures and there's no make ready. So you can, do a different cover and a couple different stocks for your inside signatures without spending a whole lot of money. So think about mixing papers within a design. It doesn't have to be all one stock. Another piece that was in one of our Explores was this mailing for a realtor. So this was all about real estate, and you can see it's an envelope, and inside was this little guy, and it's a personalized mailer. So you can see at the top, "Hi, Olivia," and this is something coming from a realtor, letting this person know about the statistics in their market. And so what I love about this, there's a lot of things, using Astrobrites in combination with Environment Concrete, which is a very unexpected combination, but it works so well. And when you think about choosing paper as part of your design, this is definitely not the type of thing that you would design on screen and go to your printer and say, I don't know, what do you think we should print it on? It's just gonna lose the whole feel to just print it on white, right? So paper becomes such an important part of this design. And the other thing I love, check this out. It's a no glue pocket. So really simple. And again, this die line is at neenahpaper.com/die lines. But I love this, just that fold. I have to tell you guys, there's a disclaimer. So if you do use any of the die lines on neenahpaper.com and you don't use Neenah paper, it's gonna blow up on press. It's just not gonna work. Sorry, you're gonna have to use Neenah paper. I'm kidding. So a couple more. Again, the box. This is a moving company. What a great way to kind of talk about what they do and to make them feel a little bit more premium. So if you are in the market for hiring a moving company, you want to make sure they're going to not break your stuff and they're going to transport you across the country safely. And I think upping their game with a premium mailer probably communicates that message pretty effectively. So you get the idea. There's a lot of different concepts in our die lines using different Neenah papers. The old issues of Explore, I think we have some of those maybe at Millcraft. If you're really interested, we can probably dig up some of those actual printed pieces. But moving right along, I wanted to show you another piece that is brand new. It's kind of like a smaller promo on the classics. And this is called the Perfect Canvas. So right away, you can see the canvas that we're using here, and I don't know if you can kind of see this, but that's classic columns, and this is a duplex. So I think most of you may know, but a duplex is 2 sheets of paper glued together. So in this case, we have Patriot Blue in our classic columns lineal finish, and on the inside it's actually Avalanche White, but it's printed. So you can see there's the white. And so that allows us to print the pattern and then have the knockout of white. And so it's an excellent choice for a pocket folder because you don't have to do all this heavy ink coverage. In this case, we did a white foil and we did a metallic ink. 1 hit of metallic ink would be sufficient. We added the extra white foil, but you think about using a duplex like this, and we have several, 1 color ink on the outside and you have the paper color, and then on the inside it could still be 1 color and have white. So in this case, we're talking about the perfect canvas, and we're really talking about thinking through your paper choice when you're printing and how you marry that texture or that shade of white with the image that you're printing. So we have an example of, I know this won't show up on camera, but this woman's face, we're showcasing 2 different whites. Our brightest white, which is Avalanche White, and then our warmest still white, which is Bare White. And you can see how the paper color changes the way, you know, just kind of the feel. Like one, she feels like she's inside, one she feels like she's outside. I mean, it just kind of changes the whole dynamic of the image. The other thing we're doing is we're comparing smooth and eggshell finish. So you get a sense of how that slight texture will affect your image as well. On the other side, we have this cute picture of the dog. And here, this is all about texture. So we're showing the same image printed on linen, stipple, laid, and tech weave. And in each one, you see like all of a sudden the rug pops and then the dog pops and the rug changes texture depending on the paper you're printing it on. But it's a very effective print demonstration that you could take to a client and really talk to them about utilizing texture. So this piece is available. If anyone is interested, we'll get your names and we can get this out to you along with the Neenah Blue.
Hey, Michelle.
Yeah.
It's Jill. So I just wanted to interject because we're getting some questions in the chat box if I can for a sec. Sure. Isabel wanted to know if Neenah's ever done pop-ups for any of their mailing pieces. And I thought about your recent holiday promotion. I think that's probably more die cut than pop-up, but
yeah,
I didn't know if you could recall anything offhand, or maybe there's a place we can direct her to for some inspo.
I don't think we have like a pop-up where you open a card and like the thing. Yeah, I not to my recollection. Like I said, I've been with the company for 12 years and there's nothing that comes to mind that's a true pop-up. But a lot of the more 3-dimensional stuff, but I don't think that's what she's asking about.
Okay. Yeah, I know there's a ton in the stationery world done on Neenah. I've seen those, and they can get really intricate. And that's one of the things I love about the papers when you start to layer in like laser cutting and then some of those really cool 3D dimensionality to pieces, whether it is a pop-up card or maybe it's a tip-in. I just think it kind of 10x's the results. So I love that color and texture combo.
Yeah. Were there any other questions you wanted to go to right now?
I think we've been answering them in the chat box as they come up. I just want to let everybody know and I know you've said this on any of the pieces that you're seeing today, definitely reach out to your Millcraft rep, or you can drop a note in the chat box or email us at justask@millcraft.com, and we will work with Eric and Michelle to make sure you guys have whatever resources you're looking for. Because I've got to say, Neenah really does a great job in terms of the support, the print samples, the resources, the paper resources. So I know you've got a little bit more to share, Michelle, so I don't want to take up any more time.
Oh, that's fine.
Hey, real quick, though, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Michelle, there was one about case studies. And so they were asking if you had case studies on colors or mailings. And I know that you guys have some statistics and things that you guys will traditionally put in some different pieces.
But in terms of true case studies, I'm trying to think of like case studies when it comes to direct mail. We don't have a lot, but we're always looking for them. So if you ever have an opportunity where you're doing direct mail and you wanted to do an A/B test using different papers, that's definitely something we'd want to talk to you about. And we can help you with that by supplying paper at this like higher, premium paper at the same cost as the incumbent paper. So that's a program that we're actively, searching so that we can supply those case studies. We do have case studies with certain brands where, and I'd have to do some more digging, but I know that we've done some in the past where they've switched their packaging to a Neenah folding board, off of a clay coated board or SBS board, and they've seen their brand, sales increase. So that's happened. Not sure if that answers your question. I don't know if there's other specific case studies about like increase in sales and response rate. Those are hard to get people to share that data, but we have a lot of anecdotal data from clients about successes.
Well, and I know that I've personally used some of your statistics, and you guys always call out the articles that the statistics have that at least give you some background on where they got those direct mail statistics on color and texture from. So those are helpful too, and we can share those with people as they have questions or arise too.
Okay. One other thing we wanted to leave you with or offer you, if you haven't seen it, this is the Neenah Design Your Life Journal.
I don't know, Bubba. I don't know. If they don't go back to school, I don't know how they can. You know what I mean?
I'm telling you.
Jody Moss.
Jody.
Moss, you need to mute yourself. Jody.
That's funny.
So I don't know if you guys noticed, but Terry's wearing her cobalt scarf and I'm wearing my red pepper shirt, two classic colors. But this is the Design Your Life Journal, which couldn't have come at a better time. So this is a really cool little personal journal that we've created for you. It's a fun little format. It's a Z format. So on the first section, it's this introspective view. It asks all these questions that gets you thinking about yourself, your past, who you are, who you want to be, who you aspire to be, your influences, just the different things about your life. So it's really cool from that point of view because it's getting you to think about a lot of different things. And so it's set up with, just grab a pencil or a pen and, to actually connect paper and pen and not be typing is actually therapeutic in itself. But it's this fantastic piece that, given all the changes that are happening in our world right now, it's kind of interesting to think about the future and where you see yourself and, setting goals and taking steps to reach those goals. So that's what this is all about. Like I said, just feels really appropriate. It's a very personal thing. Everyone can use it in a different way. And then in the back, it's just a section for doodling and sketching, taking notes. So these are available too, that we'd love to get in your hands for anyone who's interested. And if we don't have any other questions, we can kind of open it up if there's anything. We did want to show you guys, we're going to have Eric try to share his screen at the end. But Eric, if you wanted to jump in and add anything, feel free. Or if anyone else has other questions.
Yeah, I'll jump in just for a second. You did an awesome job, by the way. And I think we've showed a lot of tools, kind of back to the direct mail campaign. So we would love to have you guys do a test. Perfect test would be, if you're doing 1,000 mailer and you want to use a colored envelope, an A7 instead of that number 10 white wove, as an example, we would help you out with that paper cost. Really, the only ask from us is, share with us your response rate and was it successful? Again, the USPS and a lot of other groups have done those studies, and Courtney, jump in, but I would say an average would be, a 2 to 3% response rate on maybe a number 10 white wove, and then it jumps all the way to like 6 to 8% on a colored envelope of a size with a texture. So again, don't be bashful. We're kind of offering you, free paper and envelopes to do that. And then I would just say regarding the journals, the 4 that Michelle showed, we kind of got caught with COVID just a little bit with the printer. So I have a stash of those at home. Our sample department right now is running limited hours. Terry has a few of those. So please don't ask for all 4. We're not going to be able to send. So pick a color or just let me send you a color. And then as soon as we're back up and running and our printer's back up and running, we'll run more of those. So please ask for what you want, but in case I can't get you what you need right away, we'll keep you on the list.
There is a question in the chat too. It says, if using a color envelope, does it require using a label for address to pass through the post office? And
Yeah, that's a great question. So it kind of depends on the shade. And as you know, they put the little barcode down at the bottom. And the best thing to do is, again, to take some of that paper, or if you have envelopes, we don't have every envelope in a sample form, but we have a lot of them. But worst scenario is you could literally take that shade of paper that you can get from us, go to the post office and have that discussion with them and tell them what size you're thinking about and how you want to do it. And they'll let you know right away if there's going to be extra postage, if it's going to be an issue. That's a good question.
Hey, Eric, and I just wanted to mention, and you can I'm putting you on the spot here, but I know we've got a lot of people joining us today that are, printers as well as creatives, whether they're at agencies, smaller studios. And while we're all working remotely, maybe there's one member of the team or a group that couldn't be here, or maybe they want to go a little bit deeper dive into their specific needs. I just wanted to mention to everybody here on the meetup today that we're available to do this with you guys with Neenah on smaller scales. So if you just want to do something with your team, definitely reach out to your Millcraft rep or email us at justask@millcraft.com, and we'll work with Eric and Michelle to kind of coordinate and put together something specifically for you, whether it's on Zoom or your virtual format of choice. We know it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment. We'd love to, but we're not going to be able to most likely stop by and, drop off samples and go over things in person as we still are all navigating this new environment. So I just wanted to mention that to anybody that's interested.
Yep, that's great. You could have that. Think of it as our virtual around the conference room table. And then ahead of time, we can also send a FedEx package to different folks' homes. And so they can actually have the piece in front of them and touch it and feel it while we do the meeting. So. What else?
That's awesome, Eric. I think that's a great idea. And I think we all miss the touch and feel of paper samples. So appreciate your willingness to do that for our group.
Happy to help. So Michelle, if you want me to, I've had this queued up in the background. So unless it's not there, well, if you give me a second, I'll share a screen and we'll play that little video. Give it a whirl.
Great.
So somebody give me a yes, I can see it, or no, I can't.
Yes, we can see it.
All right. So if this goes well, you should be able to hear it as well. Pretty cool, huh?
Awesome.
And so I guess I would just say to you, we don't need to go through any more of those, but go to neenahpaper.com. And there's 4 basic tabs along the top. It's so, oops. Not sure why that's happening. Sorry about that.
I'm impressed that that worked though, Eric. That was awesome. The video came through loud and
I'm not
clear.
sure why that's happening to us now, but
And while he's working on that, just to let you guys know, that video, it mentioned it's in Illustrator, but like I said, if you caught that, we just launched it in Photoshop. So it's Illustrator, Photoshop, and InDesign is coming. It's coming soon. So once you download it from the Creative Cloud, it will automatically update for the other programs. So I think, I don't know if Eric is still there, but are there any other questions, Jill?
So I'm just going through. We answered the one about the colored envelope. People are excited to download the Neenah Swatch Pro. Just scrolling through.
Hey, Jill, when Courtney was talking about the case studies and with Neenah and the A&B, I ran an A&B last year with one of my customers during the gifting season, and I have, and they're a nonprofit, and I had pulled up some of the results because it was really amazing. She said that everyone was excited in anticipation of the new look. Seeing the results made them feel proud of how well it performed and the awareness that it created. That was their most successful appeal ever. It
Wow.
had 304% increase in dollars generated, 304%, and then 92% increase in number of gifts received, 110 increase in the average gift amount, 65% open rate with informed delivery. So that was incorporated with the study, like everybody used informed delivery as much as possible. They kind of tied that in. And then 173% increase in re-engaged donors, and then 60% retention of previous donors. So I thought those were amazing. And that was just using, you know, a bright yellow envelope like Solar Yellow.
Wow.
So Candace, that was a nonprofit, I take it, when you're talking about donors? I think I may have missed that.
Yes.
That's amazing.
So
For those of you that don't know,
huge,
Candace is down in our Louisville market.
so what a huge impact a yellow envelope made compared to the white envelope. You know, just a huge impact. And we made it a different size than normal. We made it an A8, but that it was just a bright yellow happy envelope. So I thought that was some amazing stats to share.
That's fantastic.
I want to interject too. One of the amazing things about Neenah is that we can get a small quantity of envelopes in a, you know, she went over this program before, but in a hurry. So if you need an A size envelope and you only need an inner box, which is 250, they can make those in 3 to 5 days. It'll get to us. So keep that in mind. It's doable if we don't have it on the floor, but check with us first because we stock a lot of Neenah.
Good
And they're
call.
making-
I was just going to call Courtney out and ask her to remind us, because we got a lot on the floor, which is an awesome thing, which means we can service a lot of small orders. Do I have that right, Courtney?
Yes, absolutely. We have over $1 million in inventory and enough SKUs to make sure that we can get you guys something that you need, even during these crazy times, right? So we have things on the floor for you next day.
Hey, Jill, one of my other nonprofits used a variable data. They used the tech weave texture, and they sent out a postcard in the shape of a doghouse. And so to everyone in the nearby business community that it went to, so they emailed me one, they put me on the list. So when it came to Millcraft, it showed up this cute little doghouse, so you could feel the texture in the roof. And then it had across the top, instead of like Gigi or Fido, whatever the dog's name is, it was your company's name as the dog plate, the name tag on the doghouse. But then you could feel and experience that. And we did that I worked with the client in the Humane Society, and that went over very well. Everyone loved the piece. Like, they hung on to the piece and things like that. So I thought that was neat. And I think I sent some in to the Neenah sample team just so they could see that response from that study.
I think that's such a great point, Candace. And I know for those of you maybe who didn't join us last week, we had Dan Stanley from the USPS talking about the 2020 mail promotions. And so one of them has to do with, tactility, color, texture, and whether that is paper combined with different, print techniques. So Candace, when you're talking about direct mail and those die cut shapes, and then you add in that dimensionality of the tech weave finish or maybe a color, like there's a lot of promotions and incentives out there. And I see us as a community, as we rebound out of and start returning back to work, and especially the back half of 2020, I think direct mail is going to be really important. And that's where just knowing what resources are available, we know quantities in general have shrunk. So knowing what's stocked, what's available, and what are those incentives out there, all of a sudden, maybe what didn't seem within your budget is now super approachable, right? And that's where, Millcraft and Neenah are here to help. We've got a few people on our team, so one of us doesn't know it, we have those resources to kind of help connect and answer those questions. So just wanted to put that out there for everybody, because I think there's going to be a lot of learning that's going to continue as we return to work.
Well, just to her point earlier when she was speaking about the universities, I mean, we did the math. So it was pennies. So to take it from just an uncoated, we're in the paper industry, but to elevate it to that nice texture and to give it that 3D dimensional feel when you received it, it was pennies per piece. And then the response was more, than they expected. So.
Any other questions? You guys can unmute yourself and ask. You don't have to be shy, or if you are, you can type them in the chat box. We'll hang out for a little bit longer.
So where is everybody from? I'm greeting you from Columbus, Ohio.
Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Awesome.
Kent, Ohio.
Nice. I'm in Cleveland. Good to see you, Cecilia.
Good old T-Town, Toledo here.
Yes, Toledo.
Hi, Miss Ellen.
Good invitation.
Any other questions for our lovely Neenah reps?
I see BG, Atlanta, Texas.
There was a California earlier because I wrote down her address.
Yeah, Philadelphia. It's crazy.
It's awesome.
Detroit. Saw a really great video on Detroit from Donor.
That was awesome. Yeah, really well done.
Mean Streets of
Did you see
Macedonia.
did you see the one that Real Art did for Ohio, and it was the golf balls on the mousetrap?
No,
It was all about social distancing. It was so well done. I'll send it to you, Court.
I saw that.
Is it a good one? Well, great.
That was one of my clients in Dayton.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. Well, it looks like we're out of questions, and I called out most of those. Cleveland, born in Grand Rapids.
Nice. So yeah, any of the questions that still need to be answered, you can get those to Team Neenah through Team Millcraft, and we'll get whatever packages sent. And yeah, as long as my local FedEx stays open, which knock on wood, it has. So I'm the FedEx boy right now.
There is one question. Yes, if you go to justask@millcraft.com and put your request in there, we can get that Neenah Blue sample out to you, Isabel. Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And then we'll hopefully see you next week. Jill,
Thank you.
Jill, do you want to talk about next week?
So next week we're gonna be we are teeing up with our friends at Mohawk on their new grade launch of Renewal, Alternative Fibers, and then we'll be following up with a packaging one that I think will be very exciting. I'm not going to say anything more about that right now, but I would just say make sure you guys, if you're here, you're signed up for the Millcraft Meetup. We will be sharing the recording of this meeting today along with links. And I know you guys have asked for some of the stats and other pieces in here, links to the videos. We'll have that all in an email out to you tomorrow. And again, if there are further questions, just feel free to drop us a note at justask@millcraft.com. Thanks so much, everybody. Look forward to seeing you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, Neenah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Millcraft.